We live in southeast Louisiana, and everyone who lives here knows that our weather is ever changing. Some mornings it might be cool and sunny, and then by the evening, by nighttime, it's hot, humid, and rainy. These changes in weather are part of an ever evolving cycle known as the water cycle. The water cycle affects everyone, it is part of our lives and environment. The water cycle is knowledge that should be common to all of us. This lesson will teach students about the four parts of the water cycle: precipitation, condensation, evaporation, and runoff, and how that process is fueled by the energy of the sun. The first part of the water cycle that we are going to discuss is one that is common to all of us. Even though we might not know the scientific name for it, it is called precipitation. Precipitation is the release of water from the sky. It can be in the form of a liquid or a solid. Examples of precipitation include rain, sleet, hail, and snow. Whenever it's raining on a typical summer afternoon, or whenever it's snowing, which very seldom happens here in Louisiana, all of that is considered precipitation. For precipitation to occur, another process must take place right before, and this is called condensation. The air is full of water. Even though you might not be able to see it, it's there. Condensation is the process of which water vapor turns into a liquid. Condensation is a process in which water that is in gas form becomes a liquid. The best example of condensation are those big white fluffy clouds that you see in the sky. Condensation is critical. Condensation is a crucial part to the water cycle because it is responsible for the formation of clouds. But you don't even have to look that far. You don't even have to look up to see those clouds, to see condensation taking place. Condensation can be seen in the morning whenever it's foggy outside. Condensation can be seen whenever you go from a cold room to outside and your glasses fog up. Condensation can be seen whenever your cup, your cold glass of sweet tea, water is dripping from the outside of the glass. Okay? The next part of the water cycle that we are going to discuss is called evaporation. And evaporation is the exact opposite of condensation. Evaporation, just like condensation, is a key and crucial step to the water cycle. Evaporation happens when water changes from a liquid to a gas. Like condensation, water is changing from water vapor to a liquid. Evaporation is water changing from a liquid to a gas. This can be easily visualized when rain puddles or when mud puddles disappear and they dry up on a hot sunny day. Or whenever you go and you hang your clothes up outside and the clothes go from wet to dry. The water is not actually disappearing. The water is not actually vanishing. It's evaporating. It's turning into a water vapor or into a gas form. This water vapor, it rises up into the atmosphere, it rises up into the air, and it's waiting to be condensed, or it's awaiting condensation. That water vapor is going to condense, and then it's going to fall back to the earth. It's going to come back down in the form of precipitation, whether that be rain, sleet, snow, or hail. But what about that leftover water? Leftover water, or precipitation, that is not evaporated, which is not collected, that's the last part of the water cycle, and that's called runoff. Runoff is precipitation that is not evaporated into the atmosphere, and it's not absorbed into the soil. It's leftover water. It's water that's not collected. But that precipitation, it makes its way from the ground into places that collect water, whether that be a ditch, a canal, a stream, a river, a lake, a pond, an ocean. This collected water from the runoff then awaits a second chance to evaporate and become part of the water cycle once again. The last part that we are going to talk about. The water cycle is only possible with one thing in place, and that is the sun. The water cycle would not be possible without the sun and its energy. The sun is what makes the water cycle work. It's what puts it into motion. The sun provides what almost everything on Earth needs, and that is energy and heat. Heat is what causes the frozen liquid liquid water or frozen liquid water to evaporate into water vapor, turn into a gas, and that sets the water cycle into motion. The sun plays a major role in the water cycle, in Mother Nature, and in our environment. So we just learned a couple of things. We learned about precipitation, we learned about condensation, we learned about evaporation and runoff. So let's do a Q&A, a verbal Q&A. I have some questions and we're going to go through them and see what we know now. Number 1, would the water cycle be possible without the sun? Yes or no? Why or why not? So answer the question. Would the water cycle be possible without the sun? And the answer is no. The water cycle would not be possible without the sun, and the reason for that is the sun is responsible for getting evaporation to be set in motion. The sun and the heat from the sun and its energy is what causes liquid water to evaporate into the atmosphere. So no, the water cycle would not be possible without the sun. Number 2, is fog considered a type of precipitation or a result of condensation? Precipitation, we learned, it's rain, sleet, snow, or hail. Fog is not listed in that list. And I told you that fog can be considered condensation. Just like the big white fluffy clouds in the sky, you don't have to look that far to see condensation taking place. You can see it right here on ground level with fog. So no, fog is not considered a type of precipitation. It is considered condensation. Number 3, precipitation, changing from a liquid to a gas or water vapor, is called which part of the water cycle? So precipitation, it's changing from a liquid to a gas. And we all know what that answer is. It's called evaporation. Whenever the heat from the sun, the energy from the sun causes liquid water on Earth to evaporate into the atmosphere, it's evaporating. It's evaporating into the atmosphere. Number 4, rain, sleet, hail, and snow are considered as what? That is precipitation. Even though you might not have known of it as being called precipitation, that's what it is. Rain, sleet, snow, or hail is precipitation. We see it sometimes every day. It rains a lot here in Southeast Louisiana. We don't see snow and we don't see sleet that often. And then hail sometimes with thunderstorms, especially in the summer. So number 5, what is water that is not evaporated or absorbed into the ground called? Okay, so it's not evaporated. It's not absorbed into the ground. It's called runoff. That water that's not absorbed, that's not evaporated, it's going to be collected into a lake, into a pond, into a stream, into a river, into an ocean. It's called runoff. So number 5, water that's not evaporated or absorbed into the ground is called runoff. Number 6, what is the process of the water cycle that involves water vapor becoming a liquid? Water vapor becoming a liquid. That's easy. Condensation. Water vapor becoming a liquid. The liquid water on Earth is evaporated into the sky. It's evaporated into the air. It forms clouds. It condenses into clouds, and then the rain falls back to Earth. The sleet falls to Earth. The hail falls to Earth. The snow falls to Earth. It causes precipitation. Your glasses, it fogs up. Water vapor is turning into a liquid form. You're drinking a cold glass of sweet tea or a cold drink. The glass of your cup, it's starting to get liquidy. Water is running off of it. Okay? That is called condensation. So water vapor becoming a liquid is called condensation. Number 7, which process of the water cycle requires the sun's heat? That is evaporation. Evaporation requires the sun's heat. For evaporation to occur, the sun is needed. It needs to evaporate the water into the Earth's atmosphere. But really, you could say all parts of the water cycle, precipitation, condensation, evaporation, and runoff, for everything to be set in motion, it all needs the sun's heat. It all needs the sun's energy. Number 8, how often does the water cycle occur? No, it doesn't just occur daily. No, it doesn't just occur once a month, once a week, once a year. It's ever occurring. It's ever evolving. It is constant. The water cycle is always in motion. There's no stopping it, okay? Number 9, what is the most visible part or process of the water cycle? Well, the most visible part, well, you can say condensation is visible. That's true. You can see clouds. You can see fog. Evaporation is not really that visible. Runoff, you can see water going into the lake, but precipitation is very visible. You can see that it's raining. You can see that it's sleeting. You can see that it's snowing. You can see that it's hailing. Precipitation is the most visible part of the water cycle. Number 10, whenever clouds are visible in the sky, which process of the water cycle is taking place? Condensation. Condensation is taking place. So that was our review. How did you do? This lesson that we just went over about the water cycle, this lesson was geared to teach students about the 4 different parts of the water cycle: precipitation, condensation, evaporation, and runoff, and how that process is fueled by the energy of the sun. Students now know the 4 parts of the water cycle, their function, and their purpose. And they now understand that the sun's responsible for all of it. They now understand that the sun is responsible for putting it all into motion. Okay? The water cycle affects everyone. It is part of our lives and environment. The water cycle is common knowledge. It should be common knowledge to everybody. Now we understand that the ever-changing and evolving weather is part of a process and cycle called the water cycle.